So, our story begins when Tony Stark, secretly the superhero Iron Man, who was accompanied by his best friend and bodyguard, James Rhodey Rhodes, was invited by the Avenger King T'Challa, also known as the Black Panther, to Wakanda under the disguise of a dinner celebration, when in actuality Stark was called there to assist T'Challa take down an army of rebels that attacked a research plant operated by Wakanda in conjunction with Stark International, as the rebels also incapacitated Rhodey Rhodes. So following these events, T'Challa strategically faked his death with the help of Iron Man and Hank McCoy, famously known as the X-Men member Beast, in order to root out Wakanda's enemies, which was later revealed to be a warrior army led by an animated corpse of the deceased Eric Killmonger, who was with his lover, Madam Slate. However, they were inevitably defeated by the Black Panther and Iron Man, who were aided by the Panther's bodyguard and Stark's armed technicians, before our heroes parted ways after a good day's work of kicking some ass, until the day they had to redirect the ass-kicking towards each other, when a new joint initiative among several intelligence agencies, which include the Russian Mafia and rogue US agents calling themselves ex-con, were connected to a Wakandan coup d'etat, and now secretly in control of the Canadian government, while planning another coup, but this time in the good old US of A. So Tony, who had been uncomfortable with T'Challa for months, ever since he revealed he was secretly spying on the Avengers to make sure they weren't plotting nothing sneaky, as he constantly withheld important information from them, Tony decided to do the same thing by spying on T'Challa, while playing along to T'Challa's mind games, in order to see what he was planning, when T'Challa manipulated an ambitious politician who often hindered the effectiveness of superheroes into thinking he secretly owned Tony's ABC wire and cable company through several dummy corporations that installed custom wires and cables, which Tony played along with when he secretly added an infestation of nanites onto the wires and cables, including a 73-mile optic fiber cable his company installed in the Avengers Mansion to falsely accuse T'Challa of still spying on the team, so he could try and get T'Challa expelled for being untrustworthy, which didn't work. However, T'Challa later questioned Tony's own character, since he never invited T'Challa to his home, when T'Challa invited him to his kingdom of Wakanda many of times, and also never once had Tony pursued a meaningful friendship with him, because T'Challa felt Tony didn't see him as his equal. So when Iron Man later attacked James Logan Howlett, also known as the world-renowned X-Men member Wolverine, who was with T'Challa during the mission to stop X-Con, T'Challa disabled Iron Man's armor suit with his energy daggers, after realizing Iron Man's armor constantly adjusts itself at random frequencies several times a second, which requires a wave algorithm that could be analyzed and synthesized, which next allowed T'Challa's anti-metal claws and Wolverine's adamantium claws to damage the armor. Unsurprisingly, however, beforehand, Iron Man strategically filled the passageway with an ionized mist containing billions of microscopic particles, for at least one of them to cling on either T'Challa or Wolverine, so he can home in on their location wherever they go, since T'Challa's Panther suit has a unique kind of transponder, allowing his forces to track him at all times. So Iron Man intercepted the signal and disrupted T'Challa's jet's command and control system, while also cutting T'Challa off from his comlink and satellite feed. Thereafter, Iron Man would track and attack T'Challa and Wolverine within the ocean of the South Atlantic, attempting to incapacitate them. Meanwhile, at that very moment, Iron Man found out T'Challa strategically did a hostile takeover of Stark Enterprise by orchestrating the seizure of the bank that handles Stark's European expansion to gain temporary receivership. Read 1998, Black Panther number 41 if you want to know how was that possible. Moreover, Wolverine attached a capsule of foaming substance to Iron Man that ate away at his armor and towards his liquid oxygen cells, causing his armor to completely fail if he didn't act fast, which allowed Wolverine, T'Challa, and his Dora Milaje to successfully escape, while Iron Man next found himself being attacked by a Wakandan flying battleship before he decided to change his tactics by working with T'Challa instead of against him. So he headed to Canada, where he uncovered T'Challa's older adopted brother, Hunter, also known as the White Wolf and leader of the Wakandan secret police called the Dogs of War, had took over X-Con after recently slaughtering the Transcontinental Alliance of covert agencies for what they did in Wakanda. Following this, the White Wolf and his secret police, who also hated Tony after he took over Wakanda Design Group, temporarily took him down after exploiting the flaws in having an armor suit when they attacked him using precision strikes in close combat with their high discharge plasma batons, since their costume minimized static fields and plasma venting, knowing Iron Man's force field was disabled and he couldn't effectively use his plasma beams if they ganged up on him. Thereafter, the White Wolf, basking in his victory, was on the verge of delivering the fatal blow to the so-called Invincible Iron Man, until luckily Iron Man overloaded his armor's ego system and shot them backwards from all sides using just pure sound, so he could quickly make his escape before his subsystems also overload and give out. Succeeding this, as our heroes continue to try and one-up each other, Tony would upgrade to his Mark IV stealth armor to battle T'Challa, as the suit had advanced composite ceramics, Kevlar-like polymer weave, backed by optical fiber networks that were immune to Panther's anti-metal claws, as the armor was also equipped with experimental bioorganic smart gel pack circuitry, along with adaptive logic combat guidance processors and an active noise reduction engine, while able to shoot a maximum 3-shot repulsor charge and being invisible to any form of detection that Black Panther currently uses, like night vision, infrared, and enhanced senses. So in Tony Stark's own words, the suit was perfectly designed to skin a cat. Until T'Challa used tactical advantage by tricking Tony into thinking he was fighting him, when in actuality, he was fighting T'Challa from 10 years in the future. I know it sounds confusing, but you gotta read the comic I prior mentioned. So, future T'Challa strategically turned on the water sprinklers, which caused Tony's stealth armor that stores a substantial amount of CO2 in order for it to achieve total silence when in operation, while venting the deadly gas out whenever the chance to face a severe flooding, which caused holes in the sheets of falling water to reveal where the armor's vents were, which featured T'Challa next forced Iron Man's reactive plasma discharge into the armor's vents, which caused it to rapture the cells storing the compressed CO2, thus making the armor no longer stealthy, while simultaneously causes one of 3 repulsor shots to burn out when he used it. As shockingly next, future T'Challa managed to bring down Tony's most technologically sophisticated armor at the time by spraying it with a bottle of household cleaner that caused spots to form on the armor from the ammonia, which made the armor no longer able to cloak properly, since he used holographic imagery to project images of its surroundings onto the armor's surface to create the illusion of invisibility. Furthermore, future T'Challa went on to fight in an unorthodox manner that the armor couldn't predict, as he next attached a fake negator pack onto the back of the armor to trick Tony into losing his train of thought and fight with desperation before the suit was nullified and immobilized, only for future T'Challa to after stick a cryptograph that the artificial intelligence psychopathic maniac robot named Ultron used to use when he was ready to abandon a robotic body, which caused Tony to be more confused and lose all mental concentration to remain in flight before he came crashing down into the west wing of the White House, defeated in battle, which was next shockingly revealed he was actually future Tony Stark from 10 years in the future. Okay, now let's move on from this bizarre event to a time like no other, when T'Challa and his wife, Aurora Monroe, famously known as the beautiful X-Men member, Storm, embarked on a diplomatic tour to speak against the political tension created by the superhuman civil war in the United States, which didn't sit well with Iron Man, since he wanted T'Challa to remain neutral in the situation, even though Iron Man tried to force registration on T'Challa's wife, who refused, and now was subject to arrest, as Iron Man attempted to apprehend her, only for T'Challa to attack him while wearing his Panther armor and wielding the legendary Ebony Blade that was forged from a meteorite by the wizard Merlin, which momentarily brought Iron Man down after T'Challa ripped his chest plate off in mid-air, before James Rhodey Rhodes intervened to stop the altercation from escalating so the two could come to a truce. So as more time progressed, when our heroes were facing the worst bioterrorist attack in US history, when one of the world's deadliest but rarest disease was unleashed, affecting over 500 men, women, and children in less than 2 hours, T'Challa, Tony, and Dr. Bill Foster were on the job to try and neutralize it, before T'Challa swiped on the blood samples to have his top-level scientists in Wakanda analyze it, after the US Secretary of Defense oddly wouldn't allow our heroes to find a cure before kicking them out the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. So Tony decided to swipe the sample from the hands of T'Challa in order for he, along with his own team of top-level scientists, to find a cure. However, T'Challa cunningly had swiped 2 samples, knowing Tony's ego wouldn't allow him to get all the bragging rights. Interestingly enough, T'Challa, in a show of faith, would later have his team automatically upload every file they had on the disease to Stark Enterprises' main server, including scientific breakthrough information on enzyme formation that kills Group A streptococci on contact, before T'Challa next made a surprise visit to the facility with vital information on how to rid the world of the deadly bacteria. When not long after it was revealed, Wilhelm Smith, the proud, racist, and ruthless Nazi general, infamously known as the Red Skull, was behind the bioweapon while taking the identity and disguising himself as the Secretary of Defense so he could frame Wakanda and next take over America, while after cleansing the continent of Africa of black excellence. However, unfortunately for him, T'Challa beat the brakes off that racist trash by disconnecting his jawbone from his skull. Meanwhile, Iron Man went on to save Captain America Steve Rogers' life from the hands of the Red Skull while risking his own. As T'Challa went on to brutally abstract Red Skull's blood by using unconventional means, since it held a cure for the flesh-eating bacteria our heroes also contracted. Thereafter, T'Challa and Tony would finally make amends and agree to be partners in business while mutual friends outside of business. So to later prove this, when Tony built a Phoenix Killer suit of armor to try and stop the cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force, he accidentally instead fragmented the being, which caused portions of the Force to inhabit heroes like Cyclops, Magic, Colossus, Emma Frost, and Namor, who now call themselves the Phoenix Five, with new perception on life that included reshaping the world into a paradise without free will, or the world's mightiest heroes known as the Avengers. So Tony, feeling guilty for what he started, decided to go all out on a suicide mission by building an even bigger suit of armor to sacrifice himself in order to try and save the world, which earned him a backhand from his good friend T'Challa for thinking it was that easy to check out of life's struggles when the living wasn't done with him quite yet.
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here.
I have your back. I will make sure you do not die, okay? Never mind.